Hey there, and welcome back to a strange new pod coming to you live for the first time on Twitch. If you're catching this in podcast form or on YouTube, feel free to join us Thursday nights at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/strange new pod to see the live punning. The punning. I'm looking at you, Brittany. Now put on your comfy slacks and hunker down as we chat about Lower Deck's 5th episode, Cupid's Errant Arrow. I'm your pilot this week, Eric, and joining me on this long road, getting from there to here, is Brittany, Hawk, and Julian. Hi, guys.
I quit.
I put that there for you.
I would have called it their punishment, not a punning.
Fair.
I think they know what they're in for.
I don't know if it's a punishment. I feel like everyone is amused by the puns. You know what?
Except for that one guy on Twitter.
It's true. You know who we could ask?
You, whoever you are.
We could ask our friend, our little new view screen over here. Yes, that's right. We have a guest, and it's Mr. Schaus. Hello, Michael. How's it going?
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. This is so awesome.
Excellent.
It's like a Brady Bunch moment. I can actually see where we are. He's up here.
Oh,
This is great.
So Mike is actually one of my oldest friends, and he's definitely one of the biggest Star Trek fans I know. So before we get into the actual show, I thought I'd ask you what your history with Star Trek is.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I started as a kid. My uncle got me into classic Trek, Kirk, Spock, and then I got into Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. I loved it all, and I just wanted to watch it all. And I am definitely a fan of pretty much all of it. Enterprise is something I just finished watching the season 3 again just recently.
That's
and
right.
I know that's a little bit of a contentious issue, whether or not people like Enterprise. But yeah, I love me some Star Trek, and I'm just excited to talk about Lower Decks today.
Excellent. So before we get into the main show, a big thanks to Sam Dillard and Samo Studios for our awesome intro music, as always. And don't forget to check out Logical Coffee. Head on over to logicalcoffee.com and use the code ASTRANGENEWPOD to get 20% off your first order. So, like we do every episode, there's a secret question. Is it going to be as dirty as last week? No, it's not.
Oh, God.
No. So this episode, Cupid's Errant Arrow, episode 5, introduced us to a new class and a new ship. This is the Parliament class and the U.S.S Vancouver, which, is a nice little nod to all the Canadians that are part of the Star Trek universe.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that was definitely it.
so I don't have to keep, hammering that Canadian thing over and over again like I do every episode. So my question to you guys is, if you got to name a ship, what would you call it?
Does it have to be a city?
No. No, you don't have to do a city.
Okay.
Plus,
I'm
bonus.
already
I'm going to give you a bonus question if you want to. You don't have to. If you wanted to name the class as well, go for it. Go, Julian.
Yes, yay! I've been waiting for this question all my life. A, it would be an Excelsior class refit, and B, it would be the NCC 1776 and the U.S.S Benjamin Franklin.
God damn it. I knew we were both going to go Philly because we're from there. One is the USS Rocky Balboa.
And mine may or may not actually exist in Star Trek Online.
Oh, was it you who made it?
Yes.
Anyone else? What would you name your ship?
Mine will be USS Picard's Flute. And
Ooh.
Interesting.
I don't know if you're allowed to have both. Maybe I'll squish the whole name together. And what was the other question with it?
What would you name the class of the ship?
Oh, the class.
If you want a new one. Or you can pick a class.
You know how they have... Wait, hold on. You know how they have Picard Day?
Mm-hmm.
And the Enterprise D? I'd make my own and I'd call it the Picard D.
The Picard B.
Picard D.
Oh.
Like Picard Day, but I wouldn't write it out all the way.
And you can just see Picard looking at him like...
You would know why. He'd be like...
Or Cards D.
No! Just kidding. It would be called... It would be Picard's Flute, but it would be an Enterprise Q.
Because you
He
gotta...
would despise it.
You gotta
have the Q.
What about you,
Yes,
Schaus?
Q.
What about
Hawk? Any thoughts?
I've got one. because I like to blend some genres here. I remember when I was a kid, I used to try to draw like Star Trek comics. You know, I get a pencil and some paper and just try to make my own Star Trek comics. And I was a really big fan of Battlestar Galactica.
Mm-hmm.
So I would draw the USS Galactica.
Oh,
Nice.
I don't really know what class. I always drew it as a starship that had a bunch of sort of fighter craft that would launch from it the same way that Battlestar Galactica had fighter craft. So I don't know if there's a Star Trek comparison to that. They really didn't use a lot of small craft, but that's going to be my guess.
Like the Maquis vessels were kind of the extent of small craft that we got, and those little like submarine looking things at the Battle of Wolf 359. But that's
right.
Yeah.
What about you, Hawk?
I think I might go traditional on this and go with the city. And if we're going to name it the U.S., it's going to be the U.S.S Hamilton, and it's going to be a dreadnought class.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wait, like Dreadnought from like Star Trek Into Darkness?
Oh, yeah.
No, like
Yeah.
Warhammer
Nobody else is going for
40K.
that.
No one is. For me, I think I would pick the USS Barrett, and it'll be the Major class, because there has to be some sort of online, or not online, but a legacy for her. I feel like
Trying
Just
to make
using
it
it
cry,
for fun.
Eric.
yes. Well, I was gonna do a Hamilton one, and then Hawk took it.
Oh, I
So
should
had
have
to think
named mine.
fast on my feet.
I should name mine USS Harry Kim, so he'd finally get the respect he deserves.
Oh, yes.
The
like
Kim
that.
class, the Kim class starship. I don't
Maybe
know.
in
Oh,
Discovery
amazing.
Season 3, they'll come across the USS Harry Kim.
Or
be
they'll
the
discover Harry Kim's worth. The greatest discovery of all.
Oh, poor Harry Kim. Best ensign. At least one of the best.
Although, shout out to Ian Alexander, who's going to be on season 3.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you want to
Bless.
talk about that?
I was just going to say congratulations. They have
Yeah.
non-binary and trans characters hopping aboard.
It's exciting. It's exciting to have that type of representation on screen finally. I know
there was a
Trek
lot of
has been
excitement
so
on Twitter.
inclusive. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
Right, like some of the cast of Discovery it seemed like they were so excited to be able to finally share the news, and just reading some of their tweets, it was very exciting.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what because they're joining the crew, so they must be from the future. I don't know. Something to think about.
Star Trek's tricky that way.
Future.
Future, the past. Maybe,
Who knows?
I'm not.
Maybe they're voicing a whale. I don't
maybe
know.
they're Vulcan.
Do they have sandwiches in the future?
Hello, computer.
It's green.
All right, so let's actually jump straight into the episode. Cupid's Errant Arrow, episode 5 of season 1 of Lower Decks. This is the midway of this season, only 10 episodes. So the short summary of this episode is Mariner is suspicious of Boimler's new girlfriend, while Tendi and Rutherford grow jealous of a bigger starship's gear. So, that's pretty,
The usual.
yeah. So I know earlier we had talked about how much fun the pre-credits scene is, and this episode is the first one without it. But I think we have theories of this. I think, Brittany, you had an idea.
Yeah.
So we don't need to talk about this until we get into this scene. Unless you guys want to talk about how was it weird not having a pre-credit scene?
Just because there's been one every single episode, it was a little weird, but it didn't like make me angry or upset. I was just like, oh, that's weird, but okay. The rest of the episode was great. So
Yeah, I was a little sad, but nothing really.
At first, I was worried that I skipped too far ahead when I pressed play. So I was just like, oh, did I miss the first minute? And then I went back and I was like, interesting.
It was a little strange, coming to expect it every episode and that. I hope it returns, and I hope they keep going with kind of those little one-off gags.
Agreed. So let's jump into plot A, or the main plot. Our main plot revolves around Boimler and his relationship with Barbara Brinson. Mariner initially believes that Boimler has made up his girlfriend, a la the holodeck, Jordy. But after Mariner meets Lieutenant Brinson, played by Community Alumnus Gillian Jacobs, she suspects a darker plot. Ooh, maybe a secret alien, or a Romulan spy, or a salt succubus, or an android, or a changeling, or one of those sexy people in rompers who murder you just for going on the grass.
Oh, so many
Wesley.
callbacks.
So many
so
I
many
cackled at that
episodes.
one.
is that the Eden episode with Wesley and he goes on trial because
Yeah,
Yes.
because
he broke a plant?
He was in the
Yeah, he
punishment
stepped on
zone of the grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, he stepped on the grass and then because he went to catch a frisbee.
He fell
Yeah.
into
He was
something,
getting a
didn't he?
toy.
Yeah, he literally fell into like some grass and some flowers and like ruined the flower bed. That's not what he fell into, but it was that simple.
They were going to give him
Yeah.
the death penalty, weren't they?
They were
Yes.
little prick.
Because that was their specific grass that was the punishment zone. He fell in the punishment zone. So it's not a touchdown. It's not an end zone. It's the end of your life zone.
I like that.
So
R.I.P.
in
Wesley.
You need to know.
So in the end, we find out that Boimler has a parasite on him that makes the host irresistible. They take it off, and then we find out that Mariner and Brinson bond over the eccentricities of Boimler, while Brinson breaks up with Boimler. What did you guys think of this plot? What were your favorite parts of it?
I loved how alliterative it was. You had Barbara Brinson. Brad Woo?
Bradmore.
Yeah, no, it was
Bradward.
Bradward. There we go.
Bradward.
I was gonna say I said Brad you. Bradward Boimler, and then you have a breakup. So it was all these B's.
Yeah.
Eric, you already kind of touched on it, but a la the holodeck and Jordy, when Mariner's like, oh yeah, I'm starting to think she's a holodeck program, and Boimler's like, I don't do that anymore. I was like, Jordy,
Harry Kim.
Reg, I was gonna say Reg as well.
maybe a little bit of Janeway because she maybe gets a little addicted to that like barkeep near the end of the
Dude.
show.
Yeah, true.
Also, some of her literary things, you're just like, are you really in here to be a nurse to these kids? Are you there to fuck the husband? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
When she can't have Chakotay, she's like, gotta find another Chakotay way.
She could have Chakotay.
She
and
could
she
have. Her
chooses
husband gave up on
no
her.
way.
Chakotay. Nay. There's a lot of callbacks in
So
this.
many.
In this.
It's a lot,
Just
yeah.
this plot point. Like, don't even think about Rutherford and Tendi, but this one had I think our first real flashback to a place very important in Star Trek lore. We hear the theme for DS9, and then you see DS9 and the Quinto or Quito?
The
Quito.
Yes.
Yes. What'd you guys think of that? Seeing DS9, seeing the old uniforms,
I
the gray
loved it.
ones.
I loved it.
I love that whole entire scene. I was dying.
Yeah, you had mentioned that maybe because this scene would have worked as the pre-credits, that's why they didn't have it, because they had it right in the show.
Yeah, I feel like because the way the humor was in it, and it was just one of those scenes that could stand by itself in the show. I felt like that's probably what they had for like the cold opener of the episode, but then they're like, no, it would be funnier if while she's talking to Boimler about everything and then she gives the flashback on it, like that's a better moment to put it in. Because as soon as it came up, I was just like, this was the opener. This is where it got moved to in the episode. This is hilarious.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And I loved when they were talking about the thing with Data and his brother and the Borg.
Yes.
And then Mariner goes, "Wow, they get into adventures every week, don't they?"
Yeah, it's a new thing every week for those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Save a little for the
some-
rest of us.
So I actually have that. It is my one gripe with this episode is that line, actually, even though I think it's great, there's also a massive continuity error with that line because that takes place, I think like season 6 or 7 when they still have the colored uniforms and they're in the grays on DS9, which is like First Contact, late seasons DS9 era. Now, wait, I know what you're going to say, I think. So I'm just going to say it. I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say that maybe word doesn't travel very fast in space, even with all the subspace relays. And that news is just getting around to their ship or DS9. So, yeah.
I'm not actually going to say that.
I like it.
In season 2 of Discovery, Pike goes aboard the Discovery and is like, "Hey, look at our new uniforms. It's not being rolled out across the fleet yet." So it could be that certain people are getting the gray uniforms before other ships are getting it, and especially since the Enterprise is always out on the front, like the front, they might not be getting the newest fashions, right? Because they're always out the furthest.
And like Voyager being alone in their own quadrant, like they weren't getting any uniform upgrades.
Yeah, so they got stuck with the grays.
Even in Generations, and I'm nitpicking, they still had a mix of the full color and a mix of just the color on the top of the black. So I don't know. I'm gonna chalk it up to someone someone got it wrong, but that's okay. It was still really funny.
I'm just going to believe Pike.
Yeah.
She changes her hairstyle pretty quickly.
Oh, her hair was awesome.
I loved it.
Oh, I hope she goes back to it.
I hope there's
in
more
one of the later
flashbacks
seasons.
with it.
Yes.
Having said that, seeing the gray uniforms was freaking fantastic. I was so excited.
Mm-hmm.
How about when Picard was sporting that jacket look? I think season 6 on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was the only one doing it.
And it wasn't always fully zipped.
No.
Right?
I saw someone on Twitter call it the smoking jacket today.
He was trying something out, maybe it didn't work, but he was trying something out.
That's the jacket he had to take off when he had to climb through a Jeffries tube. He had to take that off first, and then,
Yeah.
Well, look at all the other captains. Like Picard is always the one that's most ripped. Like his arms are giant. Man, Patrick Stewart. Heart emotion in the video.
I don't know.
version.
There's that one
on YouTube.
episode with Janeway. Remember, she has her total like Ripley moment with the gun when they have that macro virus
That's
that takes
fair.
over the ship. Yeah, I don't know. She's
Yes.
pretty jacked in that scene. I was just like, wow, I believe.
I don't know.
that.
Ben Sisko's pretty jacked too.
He plays baseball though. That's why he's got
So
like
much holodeck baseball.
just your. How do you work out, sir? Just holodeck baseball. Let's go.
But it
Any
was
other-
also, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, were there any other favorite parts in this plot line?
Yes, lots.
Yeah.
I
Throw
gotta
them
say,
out.
like Mariner and her obsessive quest and that, she borders on like annoying you to death with, how right she thinks she is about this. And then she ends up being right.
I can relate. Julian will tell you I was obnoxious during our Tenet review special.
It was kind of bad. Not the review special, just your
My rants. I was this level of like time. It was great. But
I'm the luxury you don't have, Admiral.
I was
I'm
the
trying
most excited for this episode because it has this in it. And I was always wondering, like, I know she's going to go crazy and it's probably something she's ranting about that, like, nobody believes her on. So, like, what's it going to be? And then when it was like, Boimler's like, oh, I have a girlfriend. And she's like, totally not real. I'm going to figure it out. And went through all these different options. I love how she's like stalking them around the ship and just like trying to scan or do different things to be like, okay, it's not this now, but I'm going to figure it out. It was
And she just
cracking me
keeps on
up.
bringing out different things for each one. I loved the board because there were so many like little Easter eggs right on there. Like, what were the Klingon sisters from?
There's an
Durant
Dator.
sisters.
Yeah, we
Yes.
mentioned them one other episode.
Yeah,
And I love it because it's like Sasquatch, like just like Bigfoot over here, and then it's like actual Star Trek stuff.
Well,
And
they
also
also
got the
reference
binaries from
viruses.
TNG.
and Lol is there.
Yeah. And then she said replicator or not replicator error, transport error.
yeah.
She mentioned Duffians as well. I can't remember who the Duffians were, or if they're actually real.
They're from TNG episode The Dolphin, in which Wesley Crusher's new girlfriend is revealed to be a furry, shape-shifting monster with claws.
Yeah.
So this is the classic Monster of the Week episode for Star Trek that we love.
It's such a
And
good
what a
one.
monster it turned out to be.
Like the twist is so funny. And
As a dog owner, I really appreciated it, and I don't know how many times I've had to do that exact same thing.
yeah,
I
what,
will say,
Scan your dog.
No, go through their hair looking for ticks.
Yeah.
it was also really cool on DS9 seeing that the it's the Keto, right?
Yes, Keto. It's a
Yeah,
place.
That the Keto is a Daedalus class starship, which is USS Pasteur from the TNG series finale, All Good Things. It's the class of starship that Captain Beverly Picard was in charge of. It was a medical ship. So it was cool seeing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Beverly.
Ooh, that was a good pull. Damn.
Here all night.
One of the funniest jokes for me, at least right before the flashback scene, was when Boimler was all like being sad about Jet, and he calls Jet a Kirk Sunday with Trip Tucker sprinkles.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there, it's like, yes, that is the word picture I need in my head right now.
So good. I feel like there was a lot of good like lines in this episode where you're just like, that is legitimately hilarious. Like the people that wrote this really go into every Star Trek show that's happened in this franchise and they just like pull things. So I
Well,
love
they
it.
definitely they pulled your Brie joke.
They did. Oh my god, when Boimler walks in, he's just like debris. Like oh, the
Debris. What
cheese
is this, a
factory
cheese
blows up.
party?
Yeah. Oh my god. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. What were there? Does anyone else want to talk about any other favorite parts of this storyline? Or do we want to go to least favorite? Were there parts you didn't like in it?
Yes.
Gasp.
Go.
I will say that Boimler almost ruined this episode for me. He didn't, but he almost did. I liked almost everything about him panicking, except the part that kind of took me out of the episode where he goes, "Computer, replicate me the fashion of all the coolest people throughout, Earth history." And he just ends up looking like a giant douchebag.
That's the point.
I know it's the point, but like Boimler is already kind of like this whiny douchebag, and he's like an acquired taste, and it's kind of the point of the character. But when he walks into the mess, it's like, yo, hey, hug, how's the view? Get me some beer. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna take a phaser and shoot you in the eyeball.
But how many insecure people are like that though in real life?
It's true.
No, but not like that. That was such a caricature.
I cracked up at that part. I was like, this idiot. I was like, he's going to literally, this girl's going to leave him. This is hilarious.
I cracked up at her line. First you come in here all sexy as hell, and then you start acting weird.
Exactly.
You see Mariner like sexy.
Yeah, she's like, something is definitely wrong. She's not human.
The reason that I ended up liking that scene, regardless of Boimler's antics, was when Mariner sneaks up behind Barbara and cuts her hair, and she's like, "What the fuck? Did you just pull my hair?" And Mariner's like, "Oh yeah, wait, did you just pull her hair? Like, what the hell, man?
That's so weird, man. What are you doing?" Oh man, I have to give a shout out to Gillian Jacobs who played Lieutenant Binson, because she was like toe to toe with these like regular actors on the show, and she felt perfect on the show.
Yeah, she felt like a real established character.
Yeah.
I think we'll see her again.
I hope.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope so. Or at least she's referenced.
Yeah, I could see that, especially since now that her and Mariner are friends, I could see her showing up.
Yeah,
like, just
they are going to meet up.
Yeah.
But I like when she was looking for the tail, and then she was like, "There's supposed to be a Barb. Her name's Barb." I've reached those levels of being like so overexhausted, tired, but wanting to prove your point that like you think you're making sense. Maybe that's actually how I do my puns, guys. They're probably not actually funny. I'm just like, you have to agree. But yeah, I was just like, she's off the deep end. This is insane.
For sure.
Can I mention one more thing before we get off this plot line?
Oh yeah, of course.
Remember Geordie Bear?
Yes, that was my favorite part from the promos.
It was so cute. I want one.
And his little
bear.
flowers and his Geordie Bear, and he drops him at some point, and I was just like, "No, LeVar Burton, come back."
LeVar Burton.
But I do love that he had the Geordie Bear, because it's like funny, because the first thing Mariner says when she sees her is like, "Computer and program," because she thinks she's the holodeck thing, and then it doesn't happen. Then she's like, and like going on to figure out what else she is.
All right. So the secondary plot revolves around Rutherford and Tendi. They're competing with each other for a chance to get their very own T-88, which is a new scanner that the Cerritos does not have. When they both tie at doing their tasks so well, Docent from the Vancouver tries to transfer them over to his ship. They end up canceling that transfer through some antics and to remain on the Cerritos with their own bag of T-88s. Any favorite parts from this storyline?
Lots. I had to look it up after that, but Ron Docent is portrayed by Matt Walsh. If anybody's a fan of Veep, he's that press secretary. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
I thought,
or if you don't know him from that, I think you'll remember him from The Hangover, playing that ER doctor examining the old man.
Oh, jeez.
Yes. You know what? He sort of looks like him.
yeah.
That's
He plays the
hilarious.
best defeated character going. And what was the other thing I was going to say? The reference to, my grandmother's neighbor is an admiral.
Everybody knows an admiral.
I really liked just Tendi and Rutherford scenes together on the Cerritos, like with the Cerritos falling apart, and how much like that's just their gig. Like they love this ship, and even though they haven't been on it very long, like they love that it has its own smell and its own whatever. And for other fans of science fiction, there's a big kind of Easter egg in this. The little thing that he used to get rid of the plasma fire, if you know that sound, that is the sound of a sonic screwdriver.
Yeah. Yeah. It actually looked like one a little bit.
Should have been a doctor.
Yeah.
Or maybe he is.
But I thought it's funny you said that, Hawk, because I took a screenshot earlier and sent it to Eric of the guest stars, and Nolan North is on there.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I was trying to figure out who he was. And
He
there's no-
is.
I think he was a side person because he's either that or I'd be surprised if he was actually Jet. Like, but I was trying to remember the voices.
Yeah.
I don't know who played who because all I did was see at the end, but I did see Nolan North. So, but he does a lot of like guest roles on shows. So I was just like, next time I didn't get to watch it twice, but I was like, next time around I'll like listen for his voice.
Yeah, they could have seen him in the hallway and just called him in. Hey, come here and do this voice real quick for us.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I know who he played. He probably Angie's boyfriend on the Keto.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the one that before he goes crazy and like,
Yeah.
Or maybe the alien who's like, it's just me and my wife, we're rich. Maybe.
maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
he could have been that alien guy. I totally
Yeah, there
forgot
was
about
lots of characters, so we'll have to. If I watch again, I'll be able to like listen in for him.
that plot line.
So there, the whole thing with the aliens, though, if I could mention real quick that I thought was quite funny, like that room full of aliens and they were all arguing about wanting to fix the planet.
Yeah.
And I felt like, I don't know if you guys noticed this too, but I felt like they were kind of taking pot shots. It's what's going on right now.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I heard some
100%.
aliens,
Yes.
right? The
My
aliens
brother
had
and
said,
I got that tone.
yeah, the government is just trying to pretend there's
Yeah.
actually a moon exploding. It's not real. And all this.
Yeah. Oh,
My
man.
brother and I both said at the same time, we're
Generation.
like, wow, this is American politics right here.
Yeah, that's probably the favorite part of that alien plot line, other than the ending where they're like, yeah, there's only two of us here.
And then
Boy,
she's like,
we're rich.
blow up the fucking moon. I was like, yes.
A nice little Easter egg tidbit about Nolan North is that he was in Star Trek Into Darkness. He actually
Yes, he
played
was.
one of the Section 31 operatives.
Oh, cool. I did not know that.
And he had such a small part. And he's like, dang, I wish I could go back and do more. Here he is doing more.
I'm also sure that a lot of like the gatekeepers and naysayers of Star Trek are going to hate this part, but it was one of my favorite parts of the episode when Tendi slaps Dosen and he's just like, boom. And she's like, sorry, sir, just making sure this isn't a dream.
I thought it was funny and it fit her.
I love that.
It was it was really funny. Also when Tendi and Rutherford are thinking about their like them coming home victorious and they have that like picture of them being like, yes, I have this. They just do this like serene painting of them.
Yeah, it was like Renaissance-esque where it's like, this is how the medical bay will look. And she's like floating in the air with it. And he's like, everyone in engineering will love me.
What did you guys think about Dosen's password being Riker?
Dude.
Whose password is it, Riker?
Or when Mariner tried to put in a password and she's like, Mariner 8. And then he's like, who is this? What frequency are you
Is that a
using?
fake password?
So much
Look at this channel.
throughout Star Trek, you always have people, like my brother brought it up. He's like, it'll be like Janeway, Gamma Alpha 9. Like, they just make up shit. And you're just like, is that really in the protocol? Or do you just say your name?
I wonder if people have written down how many different codes. I'm sure there is someone on the internet that has
I know
that.
in Voyager, there's like 3 or 4 times they say the same specific maneuver, so that when I hear it now, I'm like, okay, I know exactly what they're doing because I've mentioned it like 5 times.
I kind of wonder if that line was a reference to Star Wars too, like the "Who is this?" Get off me.
Everything's fine here. We're okay.
We're
How
all
are
fine
you?
here.
I love that part.
Any other favorite parts of this storyline?
Oh, so much.
Or least favorite parts? The only thing I
don't
didn't
think I
really
don't
like
like
was
anything.
Docent being like, I don't want to be on Vancouver. I was like, everyone wants to be on Vancouver.
I
Vancouver's
don't want to
awesome.
be on an epic ship anymore.
That just kind of felt like his Barkley moment, so I didn't have a problem with it. Like, there's just some
I
officers who
could see
didn't
that.
want that, or blue shirt Picard in what is it? What's the name of that episode? Tapestries.
Tapestries.
Yeah, with Q when Q makes him an ensign, like he never really ranked up because he chose to do the right thing at
Oh,
Starfleet and not get stabbed by the I can't remember their name now.
Oh,
But, yeah.
Come on, Hawk, you're an encyclopedia.
I know. I'm trying to think.
Failing. What about special guests?
Play Danja.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Joes. No.
Nausicaan.
You're my other encyclopedia. Oh, damn.
They did reference Q in this episode, though. Remember when they said, like, I'm more something than Q? Yeah, I'm like a hopped up Q on Picard Day. I was cracking up, man. I mentioned Q so much.
Yeah. Were there any Easter eggs we missed? Like, we talked about a lot of them, but
there are a lot.
Ones that you noticed that we totally forgot?
We talked about Wesley.
We saw Red Shirt Vulcan again.
Yes, I was going to mention.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. Where was he?
He's always just right there.
When
Salt Succubus
coming off the shuttle and meets Barbara and Boimler for the first time. She's like, computer and program. He's walking by with another officer holding a crate, and he just kind of gives like a quick side eye. It's really funny.
They mentioned the Salt Succubus or whatever salt vampire thing, which was in the original series.
Yes,
yeah, the man trap.
So, yeah. Which this whole episode was like the man trap.
Yeah.
We got to see Mariner shove an Andorian named Jessica.
Yeah. Oh, I love that when she's going in the hallway and she kept calling him Bradward. She's like, Bradward, Jessica, Bradward. Out my way. I was like, this is amazing. I love their friendship.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's so cute.
What did you guys think about the part where he was trying to seduce her on that, or he was sitting in the chair naked trying to seduce the girlfriend?
I like that scene now. When it was in the promos originally, I remember that concerned us because we're like, oh God, what is this? But seeing it now, I'm like, all the promos make sense now because they're all freaking hilarious scenes. Yeah. So I'm like, that makes sense of why he's naked in the chair. Because at first we're like, why would you ever be naked in a chair?
Why would you go onto the bridge and get
exactly?
Yeah.
Like he thought he was by himself with his girlfriend on this platform.
Like, she'll be right
gonna do
back.
on one of those platform ships with time to waste. I mean,
I don't often get to take a lover.
and he had a parasite that was basically influencing.
Okay, the parasite was funny too when it was yelling things in the test bed.
I need a Q fig of the parasite.
He's like, wait, Barbara, it's me. You can love me. I loved you all along. Like, stupid. And I don't know though. She might still be attracted to the pheromones because she's like, I got to take this back and study it. And I was like, ma'am, this is a bug. To be fair, you have the bug or Boimler, so.
I know that Julian, you wanted to talk about the U.S.S Vancouver, the Parliament class. Yeah, go. It's nice seeing a new ship.
One, it's nice seeing a new ship. Two, I know there was that kind of throwaway line. It's like, come from Mariner, like, come on, it's kind of just like the USS Cerritos, but it's not. It's sleeker. It's got nice curves. And it reminds me,
it's all about
which
the
is
curves.
Not technically canon, but of the ship that Riker becomes captain of at the end of Nemesis, the USS Titan.
Yeah.
And I was talking to one of our followers, Digi1701, and we were tweeting back and forth. He said, yeah, it does look like that a bit. Yeah. He's Canadian, by the way. So I put, he said, not yeah. If intentional, it's a nice nod to the expanded universe of novels and Star Trek Online. He said it also follows that kind of Miranda Nebula class design aesthetic.
Yeah.
On nacelles on the underside, saucer mounted module, roll bar module, and the deflector dish. The deflector dish is what really reminded me of the Titan, which I think is just a really cool ship. I think that the Vancouver is actually prettier than the Titan. I just thought I want one.
I was just thinking about the sheer amount of fans listening, and they're like, read me those schematics again. You said nacelles on the bottom, curves on the side. You know what I mean? Because he went so in depth with it that I'm like, somebody out there's like, oh my God, read it again. Read it backwards.
I didn't notice if it had a strip on it. Did it have a colored strip on it?
I couldn't tell.
I didn't see one either.
I think it's red because so the shuttles match the ship, and the shuttles had the red strip for the Vancouver. So
those Titan novels were awesome, by the way.
I have to read them.
I very much enjoyed them.
Maybe that's why they made the password Riker that he had. Maybe that's like their little nod in the show. They have so many layered references. I doubt the writers don't know or pick up on anything we pick up on. Except for Smiley Vulcan, because fans just took that to a new level and they're like, oh shit, I guess we got to bring him back for season 2. Don't kill him.
Any other Easter eggs that we missed? Did we miss something? I can't think. I feel like there's so many that. There's
so much packed into these like episodes that are like shorter than I think they're going to be. Like, I'm never prepared. So when it's done, I feel like I need to rewatch to make sure I didn't miss something. And I don't write things down when I watch.
There was
Yeah.
one thing
Go
they
ahead.
said, and I wasn't sure if it was mentioned in another episode, and it was the Dyson sphere. It sounded so familiar, but I don't know what it's from.
Relics with
Yeah.
Scotty.
Oh,
That was that big structure that was built around a star, and the Enterprise got stuck
Yes.
inside. Great
Yes.
episode.
Hey, that
Good
is the
call.
Scotty episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything's a Scotty episode if
Yeah.
you believe it.
And Eric, I'm surprised you didn't mention this one. They mentioned a Suliban on her conspiracy board from Enterprise.
He
Did
is,
they? Oh,
she
oh,
is
yeah,
not
they
a
did.
Suliban.
Yes.
There were so
It
many.
was the last. It was the last thing she mentioned in her little rant. It's not this, not that. It's not. It might be a Suliban.
And is it?
Yeah, damn, I'm failing in my Enterprise love. Damn. Any final thoughts on the episode? Overall thoughts on how it went, Julian?
I liked it better than last week's. Last week's was probably my least favorite of. I think it was last week's that was my least favorite.
Yeah.
Or maybe
The
it was week
Ascension?
before. No, it was the week before that. That was my least favorite. I forget which one that
The
is.
holodeck one. Oh yeah, the one where Ransom and Mariner were like fighting over who gets to like.
I
Did we
think
go?
so. There was one of them that
I
wasn't.
thought it was last week that you didn't like as much.
Yeah, maybe it was last week's. I really like this one. I would still say that out of all of these 5, now that we're at the halfway point, Envoys is still my favorite episode of the series so far.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
What
Wasn't
about
that
you,
ale?
I'm going to stop rating them and see what, as to which one's my favorite. Now, this one was a very tight episode in that it definitely rewards a second viewing and just to catch up on everything, that they mentioned in that as far as the Easter eggs and how it fills in the plot when you watch it a second time around. Because like I said, Mariner, she can go off on these theories and the extreme she goes to in that to try and prove herself right can drive a viewer insane in that. But once you get to the end and realize, oh God, she was right all along.
That's
It's
the
so
best
rewarding.
part. She's always right, and she like name drops her being on the Keto before, and fighting Yeti for her boots and all that shit. So when this episode started out, and she was like wrong about her, especially when she scanned her and was like, "Huh, like it's so weird. I'm so used to being right, and it's like weird when you find out you're wrong." I was just like, "Mariner, you're always right. Turn the scanner. Turn the scanner." And then she did.
Yeah. Other final thoughts on that, Britt, of this episode?
Yeah, I really liked this episode. I was just cracking up the whole way because just Mariner's plot line was hilarious, I thought. I also liked the character development in the show. Like, it doesn't seem like that much because it's only been, 5 episodes and you get 20 minutes at a time. But I know people, like, especially people that didn't like this very much to begin with, were like, oh, I can't believe these characters, blah, blah, blah. This isn't my Trek, whatever. But, like, the growth they're going on, like, you can tell, like, they feel like real characters now. So when somebody refers to Star Trek, and if they mention this show, I'm going to be like, oh, my God, and I can read off the crew. They feel like a real crew to me, even though it's different than other Star Trek shows. So I liked it by the end that she's just like, oh, Boimler, you're just going to be you. Like, don't try to be someone else. She's like, you'll find someone eventually, but, like, lets him down gently. But then it's just like, but we did talk about you. So I was like, and then Tendi and Rutherford, when they both got back, and then she was like, I stole a whole bag. And then he was like, no way, I stole a whole bag. I was just like,
This is why
I
we're
love
friends.
you both.
Yep.
I love that.
So
That
I
was
think it
so
was a
cute.
solid friend episode for sure.
For sure. What about you, Schaus?
Okay, so I was one of those people at the beginning that did not like this show. In fact, I listened to your guys' show that night because I was so disappointed in the first episode and I hated Mariner so much. And I was listening to you guys and I was like, what do they like so much about this? Like I was having trouble with it because like I've been watching Trek for forever. And I watched it again, and then I worked my way through the season, and now I'm right on board with you guys. I love the show. I think this is my favorite episode so far because of all the little Easter eggs. And I think Mariner's my favorite character now.
You're welcome.
I find her way
Gross.
more
I know.
interesting than Boimler. Like I find him just kind of annoying,
Yeah.
but I find her way more interesting. Like the scene in I think it was it last week's or 2 weeks ago, the episode where they were on that planet and the commander sort of ripped off his shirt and he was doing
2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
weeks ago, yeah.
he was doing and then she was just sort of watching him going, like I thought that was hilarious. And
I love when she jumps into fight and she's like, "This is my shining moment." She's like, "Pa pa 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 pa."
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'm one of those converts. Like I did not enjoy it at first. I'm enjoying it now, and I'm looking forward to the second half of this season. And I'm actually a little disappointed that we're only getting 10 episodes. Like,
Yeah.
you know, Star Trek used to have like 27 episodes in a season. Right?
I know.
Come on.
Yeah.
Massive shout out to Tawny Newsome, who is Mariner. She's just freaking killing it. Like so good. So good.
Yeah.
And just like me, she slowly worms your way into your heart, you know? Like the character, a lot of people are like, I don't know about this character, but right out the gate, I was like, I will die for Mariner.
But they built up the idea that her parents are you know, Starfleet like brass, you know what I mean? Like her mom is on the ship that she's on, and that's why she feels like she can get away with anything. Like it's just there's a lot of layers to the character that just weren't there the first time that I watched it, and I noticed afterwards.
Definitely. And like Mariner, you got to give kudos to the writers, because the layers of Star Trek lore that they pop into every episode is incredible. I really like this episode. I think that they're going more and more into the Trek feel of an episode, and this definitely felt like a Trek episode. So I really, really enjoyed this. So I think we've all pretty much said it. We're looking forward to the second half and seeing where this goes. For you listeners, why don't you tell us what you think about the episode? Beam us over an email at astrangenewpod@gmail.com. And don't forget to like us, rate us, leave us a comment, and follow us on social media at Strange New Pod. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and now Twitch, where we are right now. Woo! I'd like to thank Schaus for coming on and talking to us about Trek. Like it's awesome talking to you. I've talked to you about Trek for years, so
this was
it's
awesome.
Nice having you up here.
Thank you so much. I hope I can join you guys again sometime. That was great.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
Maybe we'll have an extravaganza with all of our guests.
I love
right
this.
At the end. Oh,
I'm excited that we're now as twitchy as Boimler, like with a parasite on him, or just getting the parasite ripped off. You know, he's like,
One thing before we go.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this on Friday, if you're not one of those late night people who stays up and listens to podcasts, which is weird, go to bed. No, I'm kidding. If you're listening to this on Friday, when you're done listening to this, go and listen to our 7th episode, our main episode, Once an Ensign, which is live right now, if it's Friday. So for that, we had a lot of fun with that, going from Enterprise all the way to Discovery. And Brittany was the hostess with the mostest.
The mostest puns.
The mostest puns, the mostest ensign energy.
Yes. So for myself, for Julian, for Brittany, for Hawk, and for special guest Schaus, thank you guys for listening and watching. We very much appreciate it, and we shall see you next week. Live long and prosper. Mushroom!
Thanks for beaming into our podcast today. If you want to keep the hailing frequencies open, you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Like what you hear? Put in a good word with Starfleet and leave us a 5-star review.